So 2 years ago, I did a video on Ari Aster's Hereditary. It was his debut film, and it got to me. I mean, it touched me in a lot of ways. But even then, even though I agree with everything that I've already said, and I still feel all of those things, I even felt then that I wasn't done talking about it. So that's why I'm here today, is to give a perspective 2 years later, because there's still so much more to talk about within this movie. This is a video analysis. A lot of people have been saying in the comments, great review and stuff like that. This is not a review. This is a deep dive into the film. If you guys want a review, I'm going to turn your attention to a good friend of mine, Andrew, at youtube.com/Bladedrummer. The link is in the show notes down below. This guy is absolutely awesome. He has really great skits at the beginning of his videos, and this year he is offering a spoiler-free review of Hereditary. So it's already out, actually. So if you have not seen the movie, but you want to know a little bit about it, I would recommend checking that out. But if you're ready to dive into Hereditary...
So, please don't knock over my heart, 'cause my heart is full of you. Yeah, my heart is full of you. And don't worry about tomorrow, 'cause my heart is full of you. Yeah, my heart is full of you.
Hereditary is a 2018 horror movie written and directed by Ari Aster. It was a critical and financial success, pulling in $44 million against a $10 million budget and sitting currently at an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Simultaneously, Hereditary was a 2018 psychological thriller written and directed by Ari Aster, which was released the same day and grossed $44 million. Yeah, okay, it's the same movie, but also it isn't? See, this movie is a damn masterclass in genre, being two distinct and equal stories in one seamless and wholly disturbing film. I wanted to discuss this movie since opening day, but at first, I didn't know how to approach it. This movie is dense, and it's obvious that that was by design. To be a horror movie as well as a dark family drama, as well as a character study of a woman, and a son, and a husband, and a god. Wait, what? Let's talk about the drama first, which this movie definitely is, although reviews may not tell you that up front. The movie opens on the day of our main character, I'm not gonna say protagonist here, Annie Graham's mother's funeral. And can we stop for just 1 second to give all the love to Toni Collette for her acting in this movie? I mean, wow! The way she seamlessly moves between characters and emotions, portraying someone so irreparably broken and morally... Okay, we'll get back to this in a minute. While at the funeral, the entire run of the United States of Terror was just practice for this movie! Sorry, yeah. The funeral scene, although it may not seem it during your first viewing, is amongst the most important scenes in this film. You get a sense as to who her mother is. You see Annie as more than just the daughter of an emotionally distant, if not outright abusive mother. Gabriel Byrne, who plays her husband Steve, is already shown to be a warm and supportive husband and father. Something's kinda off with Charlie. This guy right here, and then later he's here and way too happy to be naked. The list goes on and on. This scene stacks every single one of the Jenga pieces that we're about to see topple over the course of this 2-hour ride. Family! The vast majority of our interactions from the moment we are born are based on how we interact with our family! No wonder we're all so messed up, right? Our families determine who we are, who we're not, who will be. No matter your upbringing, there are certain facts that are on display here. As a child, you carry baggage that was never yours to begin with. Then you grow older, and that baggage that wasn't even yours just becomes inherited. Oh, I get it. It's like the name of the movie, right? Inherited. It's part of Hereditary. Yeah, that fact is true no matter where you came from. And like a true piece of art, it reflects a caricature of that fact right back at us. The relationship between Annie and Charlie shows us this in several ways.
What are you doing? Leaving the house barefoot? Some kind of idiot. You can't roam around with no shoes and no coat.
Not only does Annie seem to not really even want much to do with her, pawning her off on Peter to go to a party so that she can, not parent, but then there's this.
Even when you were a little baby, she wouldn't let me feed you because she needed to feed you. Crazy.
Ew, get away from the kid. Baggage gets passed down. It is inherited. Then there's the relationship between Annie and Peter, a broken and destroyed parent destroying her son right in front of us.
I never wanted to be your mother.
Holy shit! Mother of the Year award goes to you, lady.
I was scared.
Yep. Yeah, you just won the award. So, yeah, let's try to lighten this up a little bit. Jesus Christ! Baggage. It's inherited. It is hereditary. One person's torment becomes another person's burden, and the sins of the father are visited upon. Let's talk about Steve now. In a marriage, you lighten the load. You take responsibilities to help out your partner. You step up when your partner is at a breaking point. You call them out when they go too far. In a marriage, you pay for sins you never even committed. Stephen, big, dumb-hearted Stephen, does his best to keep his family going after the death of Annie's mom and keep it together after the death of Charlie. And we see this man reach a breaking point. He makes every attempt to help Annie and protect Peter, not only from his own grief, but also from Annie. But it's in vain. Not only is it in vain, but he comes to the realization that things have gone too far, literally less than 1 day too late. She thinks she's saving him, but unknowingly, she is the one that sacrifices him. You pay for sins you never committed, and the wages of those sins, in this case, are death. This is a movie about a family falling apart from trauma, from baggage, from a descent into madness, and not just Annie's, which is palatable right from the start. There's the supernatural forces at work in this movie, sure, but the grief and destruction of Peter begins before the party. He wants to go rock out with his friends, try looking all suave to this girl that he likes, but he's saddled with bringing his sister along. She happens to eat a cake with nuts on it at a party. And is that a thing? Like, did I go to the wrong parties as a kid? Because I don't remember a bunch of girls mixing up Betty Crocker while I was doing keg stands. Peter tries to rush to the hospital as quick as he can, but a swerve on the road to miss a dead deer ends up in disastrous consequences. This was the scene for me. The one that won't leave my head. The camera lingers here far too long. Over 45 seconds. The scene is quiet. And you're not able to move away. You are stuck right here with Peter. He can't get away from this, and neither can you. This was the scene and sequence that got me with this movie. The pain in his eyes, how he immediately is broken. And we see further deterioration of a broken son as the movie continues. Annie attacks him, saying that he can't own up to it and apologize for what he inadvertently did, not realizing for a second that if he was to do that, he would crumble, not only worse than he already is crumbling, but possibly entirely. But blame is inherited too. And when you try to give it back, the former owner rarely wants it. An accident occurred, and everyone needs something or someone to blame. And Stephen, trying to hold them all, it all, himself, together.
Because nobody admits anything they've done!
Okay, we got deep again. Can we just try to lighten this up a little bit with this movie? Oh, come on, what the hell? Hereditary works on so many levels, and it has so many different pools to dive into. It's a dark, unflinching look at a family going through the worst tragedy of their lives. About a mother and a daughter, and a son, and a father, and a husband, and also a demon, and a cult, and ghosts. The biggest, most intimate horror movie. Joan approaches Annie seemingly at first as a friend and tries her best to console her after the death of Charlie by relating to her.
My son died.
And then she teaches her necromancy, which at first we're to believe allows Charlie to be able to communicate with them again through a kind of spirit board thing, only to find out too late that it was much more than that. Joan taught Annie a form of incantation to call forth a demon king named Payman, who was inhabiting the body of Charlie by mistake. So when Charlie died, and by the way, her death was orchestrated by her grandma and her grandma's backgammon buddies, Payman's soul was released. Joan, a member of Annie's mother's cult, tricked Annie into calling forth the incorporeal soul of Payman to take control over Peter's body, as the demon god has a predilection for male bodies. Everything that we saw in this movie, and I do mean everything we saw in this movie, was orchestrated by the cult. And nearly every other adult in the film was in on it. Mr. Creepy Smile Pants, Byron Biology over there, weird friend Joan, everyone. And Peter, Annie, and poor Steven suffered for it. Why do you keep showing me that? The cult and the demon, this family chose none of it. This was absolutely Annie's mother's doing and may have gone back even further than her, but regardless of origin, the ramifications are inherited. It's a toss-up to me which side of this movie is just more frightening and disturbing. This or this. But the fact of the matter is, it all is the same movie. Hereditary would have worked brilliantly if it was just a dark family or a character study or even just a horror movie, but it's not. It's all of these things, seamlessly, and every point, character, and scene weave together to create a tapestry far bigger than the sum of its parts. An unflinching look at trauma, but also demons and a cult. The biggest, most intimate horror movie. Everything, all in one. Hereditary does not just reward multiple viewings, it requires it. I've spoken about the characters and the themes through the lens of being right there with the family, feeling their trauma and heartache right there with them. But upon further viewings, the film does not change, you do. With your knowledge of the ending, after going through the film, you're forced to take an almost voyeuristic approach. You now see the film as an observer. You watch everything as it happens in the exact same way that the cult does, lingering in the shadows, watching the family fall apart. And in that way, it becomes even more tragic. Every single one of the family members are sympathetic, and you can understand and feel for and feel with them. Annie, through her tragedy, knowing that she is ultimately a pawn. Steven, he tries so hard to keep everything together, but fails miserably. But the main character, to me, the main focus of this film, to me, the one person that I could not take my eyes off, the most tragic character, is Peter. Ryan Hollinger did a great job at starting this thought process, but I'm going to try to take it a step further. Imagine you have a family, messed up as they are. Imagine you have support and love, and then slowly start pulling that away, whether through machination or manifest. The people that are supposed to love you, the people that are supposed to protect you, the people that are supposed to help you get through anything, they can't. Or even worse, they won't. Now imagine that is ultimately blamed on you. Imagine your support eroded to such a degree that you're isolated. That is exactly what happens to Peter. His mother blames him and emotionally abandons him. His father is so busy trying to hold the family together in any way that he can that Peter himself slips through the cracks. And what's worse is that his own guilt has caused him to withdraw even further. What exactly could you become susceptible to if that were to happen to you? The baggage of his mother is passed on to him even while he has his own to carry. And the mental trauma of generations is placed on him too. Trauma, guilt, pain. It is all hereditary. But unlike what color eyes you have or what color hair you end up with, it doesn't have to be that way. There's a concept that I'm going to be talking about a lot more in the future. Meme versus gene. What you were born with versus what you believe and what you can choose. We learn that everything that has happened in this film is the machination of the cult, and that their fates were never even truly in their own hands. But had they known it, had they known that there was an insidious force lurking in the shadows, could they have changed their fate? Would knowing that they were being watched and manipulated made the ending any different, or were they always doomed to what ended up happening? And that is the real tragedy of Hereditary. The lack of control. Like the Greek tragedies of Cassandra or Oedipus, were their fates ever truly in their own hands? Or was everything preordained? Did they ever have a choice? Or was it always just hereditary?
Ripping with my sinners, 'cause fuck it, man, I ain't no beginner.
You know, I've been getting really used to putting up the end screens in these videos, but I needed to come back on camera to say directly to you guys, thank you so much for all of the support. Thank you so much for all of the subscribes, the comments, everything like that. You guys make doing these videos worth it every single time. And we're in October, man. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of horror movies coming. If you're watching this video and you have not subscribed, but you like what you're seeing, please do so down below. And share this video around so that other people can see it. That way it reaches more ears, more eyes. You know, more people can get enlightened with some of the films that we're discussing here. And if you really like what we're doing here and you want to help us out, Nerdynomicon does have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Nerdynomicon. Just $1, $2 a month. It helps us more than you can even imagine. Less than the price of a cup of coffee. And you guys will get early access to all of our shows, and there's a lot more really cool stuff that's going to be going on starting this month over on our Patreon. We're going to be having some really cool giveaways. We're going to be voting for the next videos, things like that. So if you like what we're doing and you can spare a couple of bucks, head over there. Again, links in the show notes down below. Don't forget to check out Andrew at youtube.com/Bladedrummer, and I will see you guys next week with Ari Aster's other movie, Midsummer.